So today we're going to talk about shifting gears from the entrepreneurial mindset to a profitable business owner mindset. And as Ms. Anderson indicated, I'm Lauren Brown. I'm the owner and lead consultant of LRB Global Consulting Services. And this is a presentation for Writing by Design Media. This kind of sums up everything that we're going to be talking about. Mindset is everything. And how many of you believe that? Just put something in the chat real quickly. Say me. That mindset is everything. And that's where it starts. So if you believe that's true, just put me in the chat function. I share this slide with you because there is a statistic on this slide, and I just want to keep that in mind because most of the businesses in the United States, this slide tells us that 73% of all businesses in the US are sole proprietor businesses. And so we're talking about an individual, and as you can see from this image, this individual, this business owner is doing everything related to the business. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because part of shifting your mindset and shifting gears to become profitable means that you need other people, you need a team, and you need other folks, whether they are employees or subcontractors or colleagues, partners. You need someone else in order to take the business to the next level. So let's ask you to look at this list real quickly. Entrepreneurial mindset, because we're going to separate entrepreneurial mindset from the business owner mindset. And as you probably know, you need to start out with passion. It's the passion that's going to guide you, keep you up at night, wake you up in the morning, keep you trucking, so to speak, in your business. So the passion is very key. We need to stay laser focused. And I've known for a long time with my life that dreaming is where it starts. You dream about something, you have belief in it, you have faith in it, and then you move to action. And part of that means that you need to have a vision and a mission for your business. And it needs to be in writing. And what I do is I take my vision and my mission and I post it on a board that I have. It's kind of like a vision board, but it has multiple purposes. And it's a reminder of what it is that I'm doing and to keep me not only focused, but to keep me on task. Entrepreneurs obviously are risk takers. They seek opportunities, they identify niche markets, and then they take action to actually get something going. You may be scared, but you also have to be fearless. Loving a challenge, welcoming change, a lot of self-reflection, avid lifelong learner, one of my favorites. And obviously, because it's a business that you're running, cash flow obsessed. So in the chat, if you could answer this question, which of these do you possess right now? Just put a couple in the chat. If you only possess one, that's fine. But select something from this list to say, yes, that's me. This is what I am right now. And I'll ask Ms. Paula if she would share that with us once people have responded.
Sorry, Don says focus.
Okay, awesome. It's great, Don. Okay, so tell us about the focus of your entrepreneurship, or the fact that you selected focus.
Well, I personally chose focus because I'm the kind of person that once I'm given a task, that I pretty much go through mentally from start to finish how it's going to be accomplished. And I try not to distract from that. But more than anything, afterwards, depending upon the results, I go back and reassess it. and decide what I did right, what I did wrong, and what I will do differently the next time. But yeah, I am not easily distracted. So yeah, what's that expression? Like a dog with a bone.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That is great. Focused is, and sometimes I don't know about you, but sometimes it's a challenge for me because there are so many distractions out here. And when you have obligations to not only to your business, but to your family, your friends, your colleagues, other projects you're working on. I mean, at any given time, I have multiple projects that I'm working on. And so sometimes it's challenging to stay focused, but that passion, that belief, the vision and the mission, those are some of the things that keep me on track. Ms. Williams, what did you select for the entrepreneurial mindset?
Well, for me, it's important. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
For me, focus and passion.
Okay.
Focus for you to concentrate and what do you doing. And passion, when you have passion for something, you put every sport, your strength, and your activity. For me, that's more important.
Wonderful. And Ms. Anderson, did you pick anything from this list?
Yeah, I chose risk taker. I haven't always been a risk taker, but over the last 7 years, I think I've stepped out there a little bit more from what I used to be. So I've kind of overcome that fear and just go for it.
And go for it. Love it. Love it. Thank you all. Wonderful. So now we're going to talk about the shifting of your mindset. So keep in mind what we just discussed about entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset. Now I'm going to ask you to shift a little because that's what this is all about, shifting to a profitable business mindset. And with that, we're really talking about, as technicians, we know our craft, we know our industry, we know our product or service. We're good at that. We're not often as good about looking at this as a business and actually being a business owner and understanding what that all takes. Because it's more than just an idea. It's more than just your product or service. It's more than just making money or making profit. So we're asking that there be this shift to a profitable business owner mindset. So let's see what that looks like. I want you to take a look at this list and tell me which of these describes you. So I won't read the entire list, but just take a moment and look at it and see if there's something on this list that describes you right now, at this time in your life, at this point in your life. And if you would drop that in the chat, I'd appreciate it. And then Ms. Anderson again can share with us, or you can feel free to speak it out yourself.
Okay, if I can speak, I'm going to say multiple streams of income.
Oh, yeah. That's absolutely one of my favorites. And why is that so important as a business owner?
Well, I'm going to have to step outside of being the business owner to just being 66 years old.
Okay.
And realizing that I work because I enjoy working, but I'm also at a point that if I don't want to work, I don't have to work.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not a perspective of from, being an entrepreneur, but it's just being responsible as an adult.
Okay. I like that. Any other comments from the list which describes you right now? Well, I like that one as well, multiple streams of income. And the example that I usually give is if your business is primarily a product business, you might want to offer a complementary service, which then creates another stream of income. And vice versa is also true. My business is both service and product, but it's primarily service. So I also offer products. products being basically curriculum and modules. And that is a different source of income. And I like that. Also, some people have businesses that are related to each other, so they may have multiple businesses. And as long as the infrastructure is there and everything else that will keep the business, sustain the business and keep it profitable, you know, you can have multiple businesses as well. But the simplest one that I see, and in my experience, has been if you offer a product, offer a complimentary service to it. Not complimentary is not free. It's something that really complements the product or service. And as I said, primarily my business is service oriented, it's consulting, but I also offer products like modules, curriculum, ebooks, those kinds of things. And that really complements the service aspect of my business.
Well, I said strategic approach to business activities.
Mhm.
So what I found is when I read the E-Myth Revisited back in 2020, it helped me to really kind of think about my coaching and consulting business and how I can scale that. So that's what I've been working on over the last couple of years, is trying to scale that. So that's what I'm trying to focus on. And of course, multiple streams of income, that is very important. And like you, I do have other sources that I pull from so that I can actually have more than one thing going on, more than one egg in the basket.
There you go. I was just going to say the same thing. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, or if you do, you may come upon a situation such as we all lived through in the last couple of years with COVID. I actually changed my business model to be more virtual oriented, you know, instead of doing a lot of things face to face. And the dynamics of the way business is done has changed. And we need to adjust and adapt to the quote new normal if we ever find out what that is, because it's constantly changing. So we have been presented with these challenges as entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, people who work with individuals who are business owners and entrepreneurs and coaches. And we've had to shift, we've had to adjust. And so all of these items on this list here for profitable business owner mindset really puts you in good shape to shift your gears from entrepreneurial mindset to actually a profitable business owner mindset. Understand, you're in business to make profit, not just to make money. I taught business classes at the undergrad and graduate level for many years. And one of the things I would ask the students is, you know, you want to go into business or you are in business, what are you in business to do? And the typical response was to make money. Well, if you just made money, you would have enough, presumably, to pay your bills. But you really are in business to make profit, because it's the profit that you put back into your business that allows you not only to sustain it, but actually grow your business and scale your business, as Ms. Anderson said it a little while ago. So understanding that, thinking for yourself, calculated risk. You know, entrepreneurs are risk takers, and there can be calculated risk takers as well. But a profitable business owner is somebody who takes calculated risks. So you're not just stepping out there. You're stepping out there with the plan. You've done market research. You've identified your client base or customer base. All of those things have happened. And you have your eye toward making profit, being self-motivated, understand your emotional ties to your business and your customers, because that emotion can be the greatest thing for you. It also can hamper you. I'm a witness. Sometimes that is difficult because you do have to make emotional decisions. And if you have employees in your business, you may have to make some tough decisions involving your employees and also your customers and clients. We all probably have had clients that we've gone as far as we can with them, and we don't see the relationship really growing and being beneficial. And we have to sometimes let clients go. I've had to do that in my law practice. I've had to say, okay, this is what I can do. And unless some other things change, this is where my service or my assistance ends. And that's tough. Also, for a profitable business owner mindset, you have to always constantly think about innovating. Sometimes it means reinventing yourself. Again, because of COVID, a lot of us did. We really reinvented ourselves. And really, we're not out of the woods yet with COVID. So this innovation and value creation, all of that is still going on. And this last item on the list, I feel is really, really important. And that is to have a mentor and or coach. Mentors and coaches do different things. And so having a mentor really is somebody who's kind of been there and can really guide you. They can call you on the carpet. And a coach really helps you design where you're going, how you want to get there, and the plan for that. So, they are two different functions, and that's why I have them both there. Any questions about the profitable business owner mindset? Any other comments? Okay.
I'm sorry. I did send you a question because I thought you must have read my mind, because after I sent the question, you raised the issue about how business models changed over the past 2 years. Now, in your experience, would you say that there were more changes over the past 2 years than at any other point in your professional career, or not?
No, actually, for me, no. The biggest change in my career was leaving a very good, prestigious job. I was a deputy district attorney, a deputy prosecutor, and I was in charge of the juvenile unit of the DA's office in the community I lived in. And the biggest change for me was doing something I always wanted to do, and that's to have my own law practice. And that was huge. I was married at the time. We had a daughter who was fairly young, and she actually ended up working in my business as she got older. But that was probably the biggest change for me in my professional career and my business career, was actually hanging out my shingles and starting my own practice. This experience the last couple of years, and what we're going through now, because there's still a lot of fallout from COVID. Many of our businesses have been impacted. Matter of fact, every business has been impacted on some level. But this is a close second. But that first one was, talk about fear, being fearful, but being a risk taker. I said, you know what, this is something I always wanted to do. I didn't always want to work for somebody else to help build their vision and their business and make them profitable. I wanted to do that for myself. And so the time seemed right to do it. And I stepped out there. Like you said earlier, Paula, you just step out there. And I did. I was an entrepreneur. Now, as a profitable business owner going through this recent change with COVID, yeah, that's a close second. It is. It has caused me, like I said earlier, to change my business model, doing more things virtually and a few other things, which I will get into very shortly. But yeah, and I will say this, that there are other changes to come, because we're sort of coming out of the latest strain of COVID, but every time we seem like we're out of the latest strain, here comes another one. But also, we really see the businesses that were truly hanging on by strings, and some of them don't exist anymore. And they have changed quite a bit. I'll give you a perfect example. I know you all can probably relate to it. If you've ever been to Walmart, if you shop at Walmart over an extended period of time, low prices and all of that, Walmart is not as competitive in terms of low prices as it used to be. I buy a lot of salads from there. And give you an example, salads were $2.68 when I first started buying them there before COVID. Now salads are $2.97. No, $3.27. Same salad. Just to give an example. So we are truly seeing the impact of this really now, not just in the past 2 years, but we're going to see some things into the next few years as well. Absolutely. Great question. Love it. All right. So let's look at our tips because what I promised in this presentation today is to look at tips. So we're going to spend a fair amount of time here looking at what are some tips for profitable business ownership. And I want to start with systems. And well, actually, I want to start with this quote on the right, on the left, one of my favorite quotes. Unless your name is Google, stop acting like you know everything. I mean, have you run across people like that? I've been there as a person who's done that, as well as a person who has been in a room with someone who's, just like knows everything. Nobody knows everything. Can we agree on that, guys? Nobody knows everything. And if they did, what a world this would be, right? But I say that, and I start with that because I do that to reinforce what I was saying earlier about having a team, which we'll talk about momentarily, but also having others that help you gain your success and keep your success. There's others that are involved in that journey. And so your name is not Google, and Google doesn't know everything, I've found out, but stop acting like you know everything. That's the first tip. Accept the fact that you don't know everything and that you're not perfect. We're all human, which by definition means we're not perfect, right? We all have something to learn. I am an avid lifelong learner. Even today, I try to learn something new every day. And one of the areas I'm learning a lot is from my grandkids. I have 4 grandkids, and the youngest one is going to be 3 shortly. But my oldest one is 12. And between 2 boys and 2 girls, between those 4 kids, I'm learning more about technology than I could learn from anywhere else, truly. I will share a short story. My youngest grandson, who is 7 now, but when he was barely 2 years old, my phone must have been unlocked. He actually downloaded a game that's still on my phone. And you know how I knew about it? I got a bill in the mail. I looked at my credit card statement, actually, and somehow he figured out, and I must have had it set up in the phone, I'm sure, but somehow he figured out, he saw a game he liked, and he downloaded it. So I look at it, I asked my oldest grandson, of course, I said, did you do this? And he said, no, Grandma. Asked my oldest granddaughter, she said, not me. And the baby wasn't born yet. This is some years ago. So I looked at the little guy who was barely talking, let alone anything else. And he just had this smile on his face. And he shook his head that, yes, he had downloaded this game. Now, here is somebody who's barely talking, who knew how to operate a phone to download a game on my phone. And I asked him to show me how he did that. And I immediately took that function away. But it's those things about systems. Systems are so important. And when you think of systems, what brings to mind when you think about systems? What comes to mind for you?
Well, for me, it's having certain things that you do all the time. Mm-hmm. So you have it's kind of like, McDonald's, I'm just going to use them as an example. Mm-hmm. You get the same product at every single location. It may not be as good, but you get the same product wherever you go. So that's kind of what systems need from my perspective.
Awesome. Yes. Any other thoughts or comments on systems? Well, that's a great example that you had. And I've traveled around the world. And one of the things I did was I was in Paris, France, the year McDonald's came to Paris. And even though the food tasted a little different, the basic menu, to your point, Paula, the basic menu was the same. You could get burgers, fries, and back then they actually made the shakes from scratch. But you could do that. And I've traveled around other parts of the world. And there are places, I was in Jamaica last fall. And Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, is so popular there. It wasn't quite the same taste, but again, the basic menu was the same. And then they would add, some culture, local meals, local food items to the menu, but the basic menu was the same everywhere. So when I talk about systems, what I am talking about is systems that will help build your business. And those systems include systems, for example, like lead generation, appointment setting, lead conversion systems, management systems to manage your business, cybersecurity, which is really, really important, and then key metrics that measure certain aspects of your business. And all of that's part of that growing and the scaling of the business and part of moving your business to profitability. So systems are critical for that. And the good news is there are a lot of places that offer these kinds of systems on a free trial period or a trial period for $1 or whatever. So you get to actually try things out to see what works best for you. And I encourage you to do that. My name is all over a lot of different systems because I've tried many over the years and then found some that work very well for me. And this is a switch for me because I'm a baby boomer. And, this is easier for who we define as millennials and the next generation after millennials, my grandsons and granddaughters' generation, who are very astute and very knowledgeable with technology or certain aspects of it. So setting up systems is real easy for them. It wasn't that easy for me, honestly. So now let's talk about automation. Similar to systems, what comes to mind with automation? So Ms. Paula, you said the systems are the things that you do on a regular basis. How does automation fit into that?
Well, I guess just say, for instance, like email. You want to use email as a way to kind of reach your customers as opposed to, some of the other ways that you would do, years ago. So that's an automation process because you can actually schedule that. Once you create it, you can schedule that to go out at a certain time. So
absolutely goes hand in hand with systems, really does, especially the things, a great example that you gave, especially the things that you do on a regular basis. If you don't have to, here's my philosophy, if you don't have to touch it, don't.
Yeah.
And I also try not to touch anything more than 3 times.
Yeah.
I work real hard at that because the 3 is it's not so much a magical number, but 3 is an important number in my life. And so 3 times, if I have to touch it more than 3 times, it's time to give it away or finish it off or stop it. And you were going to say, Don?
I was just going to say, for me, automation is, I do a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of fundamental calculations, and I love creating them once. And all you do is just put in a number in an input field and it fills in the other half of the equations for you.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we would survive without it.
Absolutely. And again, given the shift in how business is done, primarily as a result of COVID, automation has become very, very important. There are lots of automation options out there because, the business community, the government, although it's, slow to catch up, it's catching up. But all of these big entities are realizing the importance of having systems in place and automating as much as they can. Again, if you do not have to physically touch it, don't. And there are lots of resources, again, similar to systems, where you can try them for a period of time for free or very low cost to determine what works best for your particular business. Let's move on to the next tip, which is collaboration. I kind of mentioned earlier that you're not in business by yourself, even though you may be in business by yourself as a sole proprietor, but really collaboration is becoming more of a key in business. Large companies, the big corporations, they've been collaborating for many, many years. I think about the auto industry. Can you really truly buy a, quote, American car? American cars have all kinds of foreign parts in them. Many of them do. And my point is, there have been collaborations with different companies for different parts of cars. and they've been doing it for years. They certainly don't share their core competencies, but they have these ventures and these collaborative efforts. You can even look at that on the nonprofit side. Collaboration is very, very key. It really helps us because we can think of examples of joint ventures, networking, contract teaming agreements, which is very popular in the public realm, especially with the federal government, contract teaming agreements. So you have those kinds of examples of collaboration. And, you know, when you put together, if you come together with others, you're stronger. And that really is a way to scale and grow your business and to keep it profitable when you partner with others. Any questions, comments about any of those four so far? I'm just checking in and then we can move on to the next one. All right, let's talk about goal alignment. When I see this tip, what brings to mind for me is, you know, when you have developed your vision and your mission and you've set goals for yourself personally, perhaps, as well as for your business, you've encouraged your employees to set their goals. You have to make sure that all of those goals are in alignment with the vision and the mission that you've developed for your business. So are you a person who is hands-on, really likes to get involved and touch stuff, as I said earlier? Or are you the organizer and delegator to delegate specific tasks to others? And that will lead to another point that we'll make a little later on, and that is, which are you? You have to know yourself. You really do. And you have to know your team. Who is on your team, what their strengths are, and all of that in order to make sure that the goal alignment stays there and that it's firm and that it's known and it's communicated and that it's revisited, as someone said earlier, from time to time to make sure that you're still in alignment with the goals that you have set for the business. And if you're not, you have some choices to make. One is to change the goals, but the other is to get more in alignment with the goals. And sometimes when you're seeking business, you may make some modifications in order to get that contract or in order to develop a partnership with a particular entity so that you can grow your business. And that's all understandable, but your primary goals need to be in alignment. And what you do in your business needs to be in alignment with those goals. Okay, how about focusing on opportunities? That's something we had on our entrepreneurial mindset list, if you recall. You seek opportunities, you focus on them, and then you take action in terms of those opportunities. So, you know, when you're looking at a profitable business mindset, what you're really looking at is you're identifying opportunities. And you can think of an example where, oh, I just let someone in. You may think of an example where after COVID, what did many of the restaurants start doing? I'm just asking a question. What did restaurants do during and right after COVID was kind of, you know, eased a little bit? What did restaurants do in terms of shifting their business model?
I guess they slowly started, you know, modified in-person dining again.
Okay, that was one thing. So the first thing they did was shut down in-house dining, didn't they?
Yes.
They closed the restaurant, and some of the restaurants that closed did what? They started catering, didn't they? They did. Even those who had not catered in the past. Now, many restaurants have been catering, you know, all along, but some of the restaurants that never catered started catering. The people weren't coming to them, so what did they do? They went to the people, right?
They also started collaborations with places like Grubhub and
DoorDash,
Uber Eats, and
absolutely.
Yes.
So other industries evolved, other types of services and products, for that matter, evolved as a result. So those are examples of great opportunities during what you would think would be, well, they were terrible times. But if you know anything about Henry Ford and the car industry in particular, you know, the robber barons. If you know anything about the history of business in this country, one thing you do know is that many of the businesses that are still around that are most successful started during hard times. The country wasn't flourishing when many of these businesses started. What these entrepreneurs did was they saw an opportunity, they saw a niche, and they took action. And they had trial and tribulations, they had setbacks, some of them closed, reinvented themselves, a lot of things happened. But my point is, they all found and focused on opportunities, and they took action as a result of those opportunities that they identified, and they were prepared and ready to actually take action. So focusing on opportunities, you know, I mentioned innovation earlier, focusing on opportunities and the ability to innovate. I mean, the smartphone, think about the smartphone. Think about what we did before the smartphone. I was saying that. Yeah, go ahead.
I watched this story when Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone in 2007.
Yes.
And he walked through what he was doing with Apple and how he was revolutionizing the cell phone and how he compared Apple or the smartphone to the BlackBerry, and that it had so many buttons on it that you ran out of options on the BlackBerry. And so he literally has revolutionized how we use technology with a smartphone.
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but Steve Jobs went to IBM with the concept of the Mac and Apple. Actually, it was Apple. And IBM said, we have 99% of the market. We don't need that. What are you talking about? And they actually rejected his idea. But you know what? He said that was one of the best turning points in his life, because what did it cause him? Start his own thing. And look at Apple today. It's constantly, I mean, their ecosystem is amazing. And they're constantly innovating, or at least they're telling you they're constantly innovating. You know, they make a phone a little bit larger, a little bit smaller, put a button from on the right side to the left side. Whatever it is they're doing it well. And Steve Jobs, I think later on in his career, thanked IBM for rejecting his concept. He was ready to sell it to them because they had about 95% of the market at the time.
I was one of those initial naysayers that says, why would anybody want a camera on their telephone?
How about that?
I mean, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard, and said, oh, nobody's going to go for that. Well, you try to sell a phone without a camera.
Even the flip phones have cameras now. Well, they did, you know, but they didn't start out that way. But you're absolutely right. It's the demand side of the equation. What the people want, somebody's got to give it to them.
Yes.
Oh, I love this conversation. I mean, I love this. I'm sorry there aren't more people on the call, but you know what? We are moving along and we're doing this great. Okay, that leads us to team. And we've spoken earlier about the team and the importance of team. And when I say team, I'm talking about employees, obviously, contractors, partners, joint venturers, whoever is part of that, what I call that circle that makes up and contributes to the success of your business. I also talk about what I call the dream team, and I've written about this as well. And your dream team as a business owner, and I include, you know, coaches, entrepreneurs, anybody who owns a business. These are the key people that should be on your team. First one is, thank you, Paula. First one is your business attorney. Second one is your accountant, preferably a CPA, because CPAs can go beyond basically, well, obviously they're more than bookkeepers, but they are more than accountants. CPAs are authorized to like go to court and things like that. So your CPA, you also need to have a marketing person, especially with social media, the role that social media has taken on business. You also need to have a risk manager. And most people, when they think of risk management, they think of insurance. That's a part of risk management, but that's not all. You've got your internal and external controls, cybersecurity, all of that comes under the umbrella of risk management. And then finally, your local banker, your go-to person, your financial person, your lender, your local neighborhood bank representative. You need somebody. So that's your team. And they will complement, augment, supplement, and really help you move to that level of profitable business mindset. So I'm going to quickly speak about the rest of the items in terms of tips. They are sort of related. We've already talked about multiple streams of income and their importance. Regulatory compliance is something that Ms. Anderson mentioned earlier, that I do a lot of work around, given my legal background. And I've been in various positions where my legal background has really helped in terms of interpreting legislation, drafting legislation, and regulatory compliance. So when you get those letters from the IRS, Department of Revenue, your local tax authority, those folks, do not ignore them. I call them love letters. They aren't in love with you, but they're in love with your money. As a business owner, you know you have to pay your share. Intellectual property protection, that's a whole other area that I really work with startups and small businesses on. As early in the process as possible, you need to protect. First of all, there's very little that's new under the sun. There are a lot of examples in the trademark, copyright, and patent arena where people did not take the necessary steps, and their manifestation or their expression of their idea, somebody else took it and ran with it. So intellectual property protection is very key. And perhaps Ms. Anderson will consider another lunch and learn just on that topic. It's so important. It's that important. Social media, we know the role that social media has taken on. I'm a baby boomer, so social media is not a natural thing for me. I mean, I'm getting involved in it. I'm doing more. But that's real critical to business these days, to reach not only more customers, but to really fine tune that niche market and speak to them directly through various social media channels. And so the role of social media is real urgent and really, really critical right now, especially since more people are doing business online. And that's the way to reach them. Yes, go ahead.
Can I add something to that? So
yes,
one of the things that I really want people to emphasize, entrepreneurs, is that you do not have to be on all platforms.
Thank you.
You need to pick one or two that you can actually focus on, because if you try to cover all of them, you may not be reaching your target customer, because your target customer is not on all of the platforms. They're on one or two specifically. Exactly. So I just want to add that.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. I'm going to offer, and see it at the end of the slides, I'm going to offer an ebook. And that's something that I speak about in the ebook. And that is identify one or two and be consistent on them. And make sure those are the one or two social media platforms that your customer base and your target market is in. You know, you want to speak to them directly, consistently, provide great content, all of that. And Ms. Anderson's right, you do not have to be on all of them. I think that dilutes your brand, frankly, if you're on all of them, because they don't work. It's not for everybody. All right, determining who delivers value. If you're the one in your business that delivers the value, then more power to you. But this really talks about identifying the strengths and challenges of those that are on your team and who actually is delivering value. If somebody's better at the financials, let them do the financials. Someone's better at the marketing or going out and drumming up business for you, let them do that. I had that image of the sole proprietor doing everything, and I'm in that stage to a certain extent right now myself. But I'm learning as business owners do, you learn to do what you do well and identify others that do other things well that really will contribute to the success of your business. You as the business owner, the founder, are not necessarily the one who delivers value for your business. And you have to understand that even though it's your baby, you started all of that, you may not be the one who delivers the value. So just identify who does. Empower your employees. They are actually your first customers, and they are the ones who will be doing a lot of the marketing for you because they're going to help you sell your product or service. And so your employees are key. Treat them well, treat them with respect, encourage them to grow, provide incentives for them to stay with you, especially if they're good employees, because frankly, good employees are hard to find these days, aren't they? They really are. And then speed and efficiency, being prepared and able to deliver your product or service with speed and efficiency, because we're a society that wants everything when? Right now. We want it now. We don't want it tomorrow. We want it right now. And with the various automation and systems in place, some things can in fact be delivered now. How many times have you ordered a book that has an ebook function that as soon as you pay for it, you go to your emails, it's right there in your box? I have. So just understand, speed and efficiency are really, really a key. It gives you a competitive advantage, if nothing else. And then finally, Think and Grow Rich by my two favorite people. Napoleon Hill wrote the original, and then Dr. Dennis Kimbrough wrote Think and Grow Rich for cultures, actually for Black people, but for all other cultures. And both of those are great resources. I actually have the ebook and the actual hard copy, because I'm from the old school. I still like to deal with paper, pick stuff up, flip back and forth, mark it up and all of that. And you can't always do it. Well, you can't do that always with PDFs or ebooks. So any questions about these tips? Any tips you want to add? I am a learner. Anything in your experience that you would like to add as tips for profitable business ownership? Okay, just chew on that for a second. One more thing, what word or phrase describes your profitable business mindset? If you have one, just drop it in the chat. You may have to take a moment to think about that as we wrap up. Okay. Collaboration. Okay, awesome. I love it. Looks like Emperor is trying to connect to the audio. That's been doing like that for a while. Commitment to your passion. Love it. Okay. Mine would be sustainability. Well, two, sustainability and growth. Final time for questions. Thank you guys for that input.
Well, I'll ask a question. So what do you think are some of the key things that an entrepreneur needs to do as they shift from like being a sole proprietor to a small business owner?
Well, one is if they don't already have a mentor or a coach, they need to have one, because mind shifting can be difficult. You may have been in business 5-10 years, or you may have just started and don't really know what you're doing. Either way, you need some guidance. And so I can't overstate the importance of a coach or a mentor or both. I think that's one key. The other key is having the systems and automation opportunities in place, the resources in place. because often when you make a change, there's an adjustment period. And so instead of putting your business on hold, you want to keep it going, even though you're making adjustments to it. And understand that those adjustments are necessary, and communicate that to your customers, your employees, your partners, the collaborators. Everyone needs to understand that that's what you're doing. And then be more strategic and calculated about the things that you do and the decisions you make, because they affect not only your business currently, but it affects your business in the future as well. So I would say those things are going to be very important. Find somebody who is doing what you want to do, connect with them. And I found, and I'm this way as well, I am very giving of my time, because I don't like to see people go through everything that I've been through to get to this point in my business. There's some things you have to go through, but other things that you don't necessarily have to go through. Like, for instance, recommending, I always ask people to recommend system and automation resources to me, because I'm trying to find the next best thing. So those would be some of the key items. And I would say also keep that passion, because that's what's going to keep you going. That passion will. All right, I know we're just about done. I always have my slides of resources and references. Thank you so
Don had
much.
a question. I think Don had a
This is a-
question.
It's just a real quick question to do with collaborations.
Yes.
Would you say collaborations work best when, I guess, the business is doing well, or when businesses are not? One business is not doing well.
I would say both. Here's why. When businesses are doing well, people will come to you and they will want to be a part of what you're doing. You have those folks. When business is not doing well, that is a way to keep you in business, sustainability, and then perhaps with growth. There have been, I've been a part of and also seen initial joint ventures or contracting teaming agreements, which those arrangements led to being able to pool the resources and go after larger contracts, for example. So it may be the beginning of a good relationship or a great relationship. So I would say either way, collaborations are good. But I noticed with big companies, the big corporations, those collaborations started fairly early in their careers. Going back to making the cars, I mean, there was a time way before all of our time when all American cars had American parts, but that wasn't for a very long time. We have had foreign foreign parts in American cars for many, many, many years. So that industry got it right. So I would say both. But when people tend to form those collaborations is when times are not so good.
Right.
Because they're looking to survive, and they're looking for sustainability.